You've all been here before, haven't you? You all know what it's all about. What they call in Hinduism Advaita. That's one of the labels they put on it. Advaita meaning non-duality. They try to describe non-duality by saying it's one without a second, not two. So that includes everything. I put another way, the absolute, or the great perfection. All different labels we put on it. And to speak about it at all, you've got to use words. And every word we've ever spoken has been acquired, picked up. We weren't born with any words. And investigate the word, you see the word's not the real. Take the word water, can you drink it? Can you swim in it? Can you drown it? You can't. Does the word fire burn your mouth if you speak it? Can you cook with it? Can you heat yourself? So what's this word I or me? Investigating that, you'll see it's not the concept you've got about it. If you've got any concept, if you've seen through it, you won't. You'll know the great perfection, as they describe it in Buddhism, is non-conceptual awareness. It's awareness without any concept. And Satchitananda is existence, consciousness, be, loving to be, or awareness. Another term for consciousness in its absolute is awareness. So in those three things, as I say, the great perfection is non-conceptual awareness, and this is non-conceptual also, if it's the same awareness, the same intelligence energy as it is. So that is all there is. Everything, you must be already that. Anyone who is not existing right now, no, you know you're existing, you can't negate it. Anyone who's not conscious or unaware, no, you're not unaware, so you must be aware. Anyone who's not happy to be or loving to be, of course you're happy to be. You wouldn't be here if you didn't want to be, would you? So you are that existence, consciousness, bliss already. But we've lost sight of it through the word. And when you investigate that, how many words were you born with? You realise you weren't born with any words. So how can you even remember your birth? You can't remember your birth because you had no words at the time to translate it into I am. The primary thought, or that sense of presence, translates through the mind as the thought I am. And that I am just means that you are presently aware. And when the Sagara say stay with the I amness, and we think we've got to repeat that like a mantra if we haven't looked into it. But I amness is that sense of presence, right here and right now. Could you say, if I ask any, how would you say? How would you? Who are you? You'll say, I am. So that's the label we put upon ourselves, the I amness. It's the sense of presence. But that's when the separation comes from, because we take the I to be the person, the individual. Me, Bob, the Australian. How would I translate that? I'd say I am. So when they stay with the I amness, I mean, stay not with the words, but with that sense of presence. And anyone who is not aware of presence right now. The awareness is with each and every one of us, is this immediacy, this right here-ness, right now-ness. And that's when you might start to realise that time is a mental concept. also. Because, and ask yourself, is there a past if I don't think about it? Cat! Should be there. So they say the false. Hey, Gerald, isn't it? Found you one. The Mahavakya is a great word they talk about, is I am that. Innately, everybody knows that already. Because you say, that's the chair, that's the carpet, that's the tree, that's the flower, that's the sky, that's space. Everything is that. And what differentiates it, what discriminates it, is the labels we put on it. If you haven't got any label on anything, everything is already and always that. Even to say it's not that is that. It is too. Yeah. So again, it all points to the one essence if you look into it closely enough. But we've taken on this belief we're a separate entity, an individual, a person. Where does the word person come from? The ancient Latin language, I think, persona, meaning the mask. So that persona has been broken down into person. And we all take it to be this concept or idea, what we think we are. I'm the person, or the person. But if you listen to what the word is telling you, you are the mask. And the mask is a conceptual image, which is made up of words, concepts, ideas. And we put upon ourselves and taken ourselves to be a human being, a person. But look at that word, human being. If you believe in a God, you call God the supreme being. You call yourself a human being. What happens if you take the word or the label off it? Supreme, take the label off the supreme, and the label human off it, what are you left with? Pure being, isn't it? Anyone in this room is not being. No. You say, I am the being. So we've already known it, but we've lost sight of it because we've put the words on and discriminated and lost it with the word, which is not the real. And realise you weren't born with any words. The word is not the thing. As I said, pointed out before, the word water is not the water. The word fire is not the fire. The word me or I is not what you are. That needs to be investigated and seen. And say, when did you begin? You say you're born, but you can't remember your birth. Nobody can remember your birth. Why? Well, you didn't have any words then, so how can you remember that what wasn't there when you didn't learn any words till you were about 2.5, when the capacity of reasoning developed you. And that capacity of reasoning is a very useful capacity. But it's very self-destructive also, when you put the meaning in it and break it down to concepts. Now, when did you begin? If you can't remember your birth. Well, we'll go back and have a look at it. first of all, we'll investigate, are you this person? Are you this body? Are you this mind? Innately, you already know you're not the body. Because don't you say my body, and don't you say my mind, so you're not the body or the mind. Because who's it body mind belong to? The conceptual image I've got about myself, me, or I. So we'll go back and have a look at it. When were you born? We'll go back as far as your father and your mother. That animating life essence, what I call intelligence energy, that animated that pattern you call your father. Where did it begin? Well, we'll go back to your father. That animating life essence is your father. Enabled in that pattern, the life essence in that pattern, through the air he's breathing, and the food he's eating, the prana and the air. In that pattern, a little microscopic particle called sperm to form. That sperm was suffused with intelligence energy. It knew what to do. And the same animating life essence in your mother, again through the prana, the breath and the food eating, enabled in that pattern another microscopic particle called an ovum or an egg to form. That ovum was suffused with intelligence energy. It knew what to do. It attached itself to the wall of the uterus. And the sperm knew what to do. It swam to the ovum. Put it under a microscope and you'll see it's not just a dead blob of glue. It has the capacity of swimming. And the ovum was attached itself to the wall of the uterus. And the innate intelligence energy in those two coming together, doubled that cell, doubled it again, through the genes and everything within those patterns, and formed the little embryo, the little fetus, which is what you are today. So what were you doing about it then? Well, you didn't have any words, you weren't doing anything, you weren't even doing any living, which you might think you are the livingness today. But you are the livingness, but the body-mind is doing the living, or the mind in it is. And that pattern of energy has grown to what you are today. It's the same life essence. It's functioning, patterning, shaping and forming. And that is what you are. At the age of about 2, 2.5, might have been earlier in some of you, a bit later in some others, the capacity of reasoning developed. And in that capacity of reasoning, with your parents fussing around you, and all going on, you began to learn the words. Your parents told you you're a good boy, or you're a bad boy, you're this, that and the other, you're little Johnny, or you're little Billy. And you learnt other words beside that. And that's when you took on the idea, now we've taken on the idea that I am little Johnny. And when you looked out there and you see that doesn't fit little Johnny, when you look beyond it, so that's not I, or that's not me. And that's when the sense of separation comes on us. With that sense of separation comes insecurity and vulnerability. And that's when our search actually started. Because we got the idea now that I'm a separate, I'm this person, I am Bob, the Australian, the good fella, the not so good, or I'm unhappy, or I'm fearful. All these concepts and images that have gone on through the memory, past conditioning, all picked up with the words and attitude. So we formed belief in this separate entity, me. That, and everything, little child looks out there and he says, and reasons, that's not me. That's not mine. And then he feels separate from it. With that sense of separation came insecurity and vulnerability. And we've been seeking to become whole or complete since then. And we've done that by adding words or concepts onto it. So you see, we're constantly relating to a dead image, because all those concepts and words we got are based on past events, experience and conditioning, not what is right now, what is right now in the present. What words can you put yourself right now? Without the concept, what can you say about yourself? You can't say anything at all. So we put the words on it. I am Bob, the Australian, a good fella. And naturally, with that, I feel separate. And with that sense of insecurity comes fear, anxiety, stress, guilt, unhappiness, depression. Because when the little child sees something he's not sure of, naturally he's going to feel insecure about it because he doesn't know what it is. And he hasn't got any words or concepts for a lot of it at that stage. And so going along, we learn words from our parents. Then we start going to school and learn words from school and our peers and everybody around us. We're constantly learning words. And as I say, every word you've ever spoken or ever like to speak has been learnt, it's been acquired. And no word is the real, but the word. Fear is not the fear. It's a sensation which we put the label on fear. Anger. Sensation, we put a label on anger. And not realising that all these sensations are ever fresh and ever new, we're relating it to the old image. And that dead image can't keep up with life. So with it comes insecurity and vulnerability, anger, fear, depression, guilt, shame, remorse, all these things come about. They're added onto this conceptual image of me, or I. So now we've got this conceptual image, or what we call the reference point, the ego or the self-centre. And we're told in the scriptures that ego is the problem. Ego is the cause of all your problems. And when you look at it, you see that's so also when you start to realise and recognise it. They tell you, above all, we must be rid of this ego, or it kills us. It's not the drugs or the booze or anything else that kills us. It's this egoic belief we've got in ourselves. It tells me I'm not good enough, or I'm fearful, or I'm unhappy, or I'm depressed. All these fears, anxiety, stresses and guilts and shames that come up are all relative to this conceptual image. Relativity is relationship, and relativity and relationship is duality. And they pointed out right from the start in the scriptures that there's absolutely no duality in non-duality. It's the one essence, vibrating, patterning, expressing, shaping, forming as everything. And that's the nama rupa. That's Satchitananda nama rupa. The nama rupa, as they'll say, the name and form. Nama is name. That's the name we put upon ourselves, or the parents have put upon us. And the form is this body through which it expresses through. So the name and form, they say, is Maya. Maya is illusion. So this pattern, you call you or me or I, is an illusionary pattern, a vibrating pattern of energy. As I say, the body's made up of elements, made up of earth, air, fire, water, space. If you think you're separate, separate yourself from those elements. Take the air out of your body. See how long you last without that element of air. So you see you're not separate from the air. Take the water out of your body. Your body's 80% water. Take the water out of your body, you soon die. So you're not separate from the water. The fire, the body temperature. If you didn't have that body temperature, you'd soon get hypothermia and die of the cold. So you're not separate from the fire. The space. Get out of space if you can. You're not separate from space. Get off the earth. You're not separate. Can't live off the earth for very long. So you'll see you're not really separate from those elements at all. So you're still one with the lot. One has everything. And all those elements can be broken down to subatomic particles into pure energy. So this body's nothing but a vibrating pattern of energy. Take this thing you call mind. You say, my mind. Innately you know you're not the mind because it's my mind. Whose mind is it? And if you think you are the mind, show me a thing you call mind. Is there anything there that you can say, this is mine? And is that what I am? Mind? When you break it down, what's mind? It's nothing but thought, mental construct. What's thought? A vibration, a sound. Thought is sound. What's sound? A sound is a vibration. And what's a vibration? A movement of energy. So it's nothing but this intelligence energy, this patterning, shaping, and forming, this manifestation, and everything in it. And it's the one essence that's patterning, shaping, because the essence hasn't broken down into anything other than the one. And the only thing that divides it or discriminates it is the word. So with that, that's what we need to look at and see that all these things and see for ourselves if this word is what I am. And see how it works. Something comes up and I like it. How do you know? Well, I've experienced this before and it's good. And naturally the good things we want to hang on to. We're always looking for the good, not realising that as a vibration it's always changing. Because they call that Maya or manifestation, a phenomenal manifestation, a phenomenal manifestation. Look up your dictionary definition of phenomena. The definition of phenomena is that which appears to be. So it's only appearing to be so. It's all the one essence, appearing, patterning, shaping and forming and everything. And that everything is the absolute. Absolutely and totally everything. So, and you see that and you realise, look into it and you see there's nothing separate in this manifestation at all. And this manifestation, they say, is a phenomenal manifestation. And your dictionary definition of phenomena is that which appears to be. And what's appearance mean? Just seems to be so. And it all seems to be very real as you look at it right here, right now. When you investigate it, as you see the false can't stand up to investigation, you'll recognise and realise it's not as it appears to be. So you and I, though we seem to be these body minds, we are not. We are still, in essence, the absolute, appearing as other. But to express as all these things, it needs to take on a pattern and a form to express through. And that's what's happened. These bodies formed and all the manifestation out there in nature, pattern, shapes and forms, is how this manifestation expresses. Seemingly real, seemingly solid and substantial, but it can all be broken down into that one essence. So you must recognise from that you can't be this body, you can't be this mind, you can't be this person. And we take the labels off the things, ask yourself what is wrong with right now if you don't think about it. Well, to do that you've got to try and look beyond the thought or pause the thought for a moment if you can, or let the thought see go, let it move on. And what can you say without a thought? You can't say it's good, bad, pleasant, painful, happy, sad, or anything at all about it. It just is. And that's what is unaltered, unmodified, uncorrected, just as it is, as it's appearing, and it's transient. Everything is transient. It's constantly changing. And you mightn't realise that until you look into it, but you see that this body you walked into the room with today, it's not the same body you walked into the room with. It's transient. It's constantly changing. And we think it's time-bound, but it's spontaneous. It's got no duration to it whatsoever. It's continually spontaneous manifestation. And you say, we don't see that. But ask yourself this. I just asked you, is there a past we don't think about it? You can't say there is. But then you'll say, I was in the past. I'll say, if you think you're in the past, try and live a moment ago. And you realise you can't go back and live a moment ago. You can't live yesterday. Can't live last week. But you can recall it. You recall what you thought yesterday, what was going on yesterday. And if you're not recalling it, you can't say anything about it at all. The same with the future. You can anticipate and imagine the future, but you can't live a moment in the future. When are you anticipating and imagining it? Right now. So that's the only seeming existence you've got in this immediacy. Spontaneously. People say you've got to try and stay in the now. I'll say try and get out of it. When have you ever been away from this omnipresence, total presence? When you look into it, you'll see you can't possibly be. Because if you're imagining the past right now or anticipating the future right now, and if you're not imagining the past, what can you say without it? But see how that functions though. The thoughts, look at the thoughts. The thinking is a vibration. It's a movement of energy, as I said. And see how it vibrates. It always vibrates dualistically. There's past, future, pleasant, painful, happy, sad, loving, hating, positivity. Go on and see if the mind functions any other way. And see the boundaries we put upon ourselves. This is good, that's bad. That's pleasant, that's not so pleasant, that's painful. Always vibrating in the absolute, in the pairs of opposites. And the boundaries we put upon it are the word, which is not the thing. So the word is the cause of all our problems. Something comes up and I like it, how do you know? Well, I've experienced this before and it's good. We don't want the good things to go. And realising that they're transient, they're constantly changing, they're not going to last. And so no matter how much you want to keep them there, how much you love them, try to keep them there, don't want them to go, want them to change. They're transient, they're going to move on. And see that happening in your life. So we don't want it to go, so what do? We try to keep it there by resisting it. We don't want it to go, so we try to keep it there. By stopping it from going, we're resisting it from going. And don't you realise that resistance is conflict? And any conflict you are in makes you unhappy, depressed, guilty, shameful, remorse. Translated as uneasiness, or in other words for uneasiness is dis-ease. So there's resistance, conflict and dis-ease going on. Something comes up and I like it. Don't like it, what do? Well, I don't want this one. This is wrong, so I resist it, try to push it out and get rid of it again. So see where all your psychological suffering comes about from, this constant resistance, conflict and dis-ease is going on there. There's only a little while when things go along seemingly smoothly and you get tastes of your true nature when it's joyous and spontaneously, naturally, a sense of well-being there. But the rest of the time it's either in the past or the future, in the belief of the concept of time. Everything is, and the boundaries we put upon other words. The Buddha told us that a couple of thousand years ago and he called it a cognising emptiness. And we think we are cognising the emptiness, but we're not. We can't do anything at all. Not as It's the emptiness itself that has that capacity or knowing to cognise. And he made the statement then that emptiness is form. And then he turned it around the other way and said that the form can be nothing other than emptiness. So you, I, and everything in this manifestation are all forms. So we're all empty forms. We are the one essence. Again, it's another way of pointing out it. Everything is that. One essence patterning, shaping all these forms. Emptiness is form, and the form can be nothing other than the emptiness. Yeah. They call it no thing. Talking about no thing before. Everything is no thing. And see that. You and I, when you look at it a different way, we're all things. The trees, the flowers, the space and everything else are things. And the screen they're all appearing on is no thing. Vacant space, empty. Silence, stillness, no thing. Can something come from nothing? It can't. So that's what I say, all this manifestation made up of things is not what they are in the pattern, shape and form. They're only appearance. But as the reality, they're the absolute. What can you add to the absolute? You can't add anything to it. What can you take away from the absolute? You can't take the minutest thing away from it. It wouldn't be absolute. Or, as they put it in Buddhism, the great perfection. So it means the same. What can you add to the great perfection? Nothing. What can you take away from perfection? Nothing. It wouldn't be perfect, would it? And they say in that Buddhism again, the great perfection is non-conceptual awareness. There's your answer. This, you're not unaware right now, you are aware. But what's stopping you from seeing it is the concepts we've got. That's what discriminates it. Tells you in the Hensing Men, when no discriminating thoughts arise, the old mind ceases to be. And you see it fresh and new in a different light. Nothing either good or bad, but thinking makes it so, as Shakespeare tells you. The Saga tells you nothing can trouble you except your own imagination. And that's a fact when you look at it. Break that word imagination down to image, imagine. Break that word imagine down to image in. And that's what we're doing. We're creating mental or conceptual images, taking them to be real, the energy of belief going into them, and we take these images on as being real. But if you're not creating these images, what's going to trouble you? What can you say about it without putting the conceptual image on it? Nothing whatsoever. But it doesn't stop the seeing, the hearing, the tasting, the touching, the smelling, the functioning from happening. But it's pure seeing, hearing, tasting, touching, functioning. And we put the words on it. Now the word is not the enemy. It can be very useful. But when we put the belief in it, that the image is into it, breaks it away, then it becomes self-destructive. For it's the image that tells me I'm not good enough. Tells me I'm fearful when I'm relating to the image of it. Tells me I'm unhappy. The thought, feeling and emotion come up. Sensations, thoughts come up, vibrations. Form of feeling, sensation. That sensation, we put the label on it, fear, anger, depression, guilt. We label it from the past events and experience, so we keep reinforcing that old image. So we're relating to a dead image all the time. We're not seeing it fresh and new, because it's spontaneously. You'll see it ever fresh, just as it is. And you get a different take on it altogether than what you're doing, you know. So you start to see from that me, the believed in me, is the cause of all your psychological suffering. It's only me that can be fearful, only me that can be anxious, only me that can be guilty, jealous or envious or unhappy. So me is the cause. And the effects are the envy, jealousy, anger, depression, guilt, shame. They're all the effects of the cause me. And isn't that what so-called karma is? Cause and effect. What would happen if I asked myself the question, can there be an effect if I'm not related to the cause? Well, see that for yourself. Have a look and see. If you're not relating to any cause right now, what can you say about it? Can you say it's good, bad, pleasant, painful, anything at all about it? You can't. So me is the cause of all my psychological suffering. Again, it comes back to recognising that there's no cause, no me. See that me, the ego, is a conceptual image. What are you going to relate to? So can you be free of all that psychological suffering? Be free of this ego. How do you do that? Well, we ask you to look along these lines. Everybody is seeing right now and everybody is hearing right now. Isn't that a fact? When you opened your eyes this morning, the seeing was there and your hearing was there. Somebody called you loudly in deep sleep. They thought you had woken up, you'd have heard it, the hearing would have been there, and then the seeing would begin. But ask yourself this, investigate it and see. Can my eye tell me I see? My physical eye. My physical eye can't say, look at this, Bob, look at that. It can't say anything at all. Got no words, concepts of them. But coming through the mind, it's translated by the thought I see. So now the seeing, well, I'm not seeing, but the thought comes up, it's translating the thought I see, and now I believe I am seeing. But that thought I see, and that thought I see, I realise the thought can't see. My thought's not seeing, but it's translating what's seen through the eye. So the eye is translating it into the word, and the word, the thought I see, thinks it's the seeing. It's me, Bob, the egoic image I've got about myself that thinks it's seeing. The eye can't tell me I see. What about my ear? Hearing's happening through the ear. And remember, that seeing now is not a pure seeing. It's me, Bob, the Australian, that thinks it's seeing. The same with the hearing. The hearing's happening. My ear doesn't say, listen to this, Bob, listen to that. It can't. But it's the instrument through which the hearing's happening. It's translated by the thought I hear. And that thought is the conceptual image I've had based on past memories, conditioning things. Now, but can the thought, so it's not a pure seeing or a pure hearing anymore, but can that thought I hear, can a thought hear? Block off your ears and see what you can hear with a thought. Realise the thought I hear can't hear. The thought I see can't see, the thought I hear can't hear. And you think, it's not unaware right now, but is that thought I am aware? Is that your awareness? You realise you're not unaware before you even think that to it. That awareness is there. The thought I choose, we think we choose our thoughts. But why would you have an unhappy or miserable or sad thought if you choose them? Do you choose to be that way? So the thought I choose can't choose. So this thought up image, this egoic image, can't see, can't hear, can't taste, can't touch, can't smell, can't be aware, can't do anything at all. It's a fiction. So you see, we've been bound into this fictitious idea, this fictitious concept. And that's the cause of all our problems. Now, you worked on these things for years and years and years, done your mantra, gone to satsang, read books and all that. And why haven't you found the answer? You've looked earnestly and sincerely and done all the part. Might have just dawned on you, been looking in the wrong direction. Your search has always gone on in the mind. The mind, which of itself can't see, can't hear, can't taste, can't do anything at all. That mind is a fiction. It's the life essence that's doing the function. And you looked in the mind, never find the answer. Well, ask yourself that. What direction can I look at? Every direction I look has always been in the mind. Have a look at that and see if it's so. It always is. What direction is there Or I can look, it's outside of the mind. That's when you have to look and see. And you realise, full stop. Drop the thought. If you can't drop the thought, well, see the thought. See what's beyond the thought. Let it go. And how do you let go? People say, how do I let go? Well, you soon know enough. If you've got a bladder full, you're going to let it go, aren't you, after a while? And the things you did, a lot of things you're in breath, you're not going to hold it forever, you're going to let it go. So let going is quite easily when you recognise what to do. But we say, oh no, I can't. It'll be the me that'll let go. But the me can't do anything at all. Understand that. Never can or never will. But the belief in it is so strong because we've reinforced it day in, day out, all our life since we learnt words. And our schools reinforce it for us, our parents reinforce, and everybody around you that haven't understood this have reinforced it. But there have been people down through the ages who have understood it and pointed it out, and they've written scriptures about them and formed religions around them and all the rest of it. And these people that did all this probably lived in a little village out somewhere and weren't many people there, and not everybody they spoke to wanted to hear it, but there'd be always one or two, and they would pass it on to one or two others, and so it would become passed on through the ages. But only very few heard it, purely and simply because we didn't have the means of communication we got now to everybody. And what did we do? Formed religions around these people that have passed it on. They become saints, sages, saviours, seers, or gods, and we worshipped the messenger and lost sight of the message. The message is just another pattern through which to express it's not worth anything at all. But take the message that's being pointed out. And you might have a clearer way of pointing it yourself, or mine be not so clear. But listen to what resonates with you and what is recognised. A cognising emphasis is recognising it. As I say at the start, I can't teach you anything, I can't tell you anything. I can only point towards and ask you to look where I'm pointing to and see for yourself. That's the important thing. Nobody's ever going to do it for you, because how can one appearance, one pattern, shape and form that has no substance or independence teach you or tell you anything? It can't. It's only a matter of hearing the vibrations going on and recognising, that cognising emptiness that the Buddha talked about. Recognise it. Bring it back to them. It says in the scriptures, be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. What's another way of renewing your mind? Isn't it reminding yourself? Bringing it back to mind that I am that already. I am always and ever that. That's what we point to and ask you to look at it and see for yourself. People in here can tell you how they're going with it or what they understand or know. And if you've got any questions or doubts, you've got to try and find out. If you need to ask questions and look, don't hesitate to ask them. It's no use walking out of here full of doubts and questions. Or if you're stuck in your own beliefs, good. Stay with them. If they take you where you've got to go, they will. Which they do in the long run. But you can hear it. So away you go. Get into it. Put my ears back.
I'm sorry. Come on, louder.
I'm just saying how much we love Simon.
Yeah, we do.
Thanks for the reminding, Bob.
It's yours. Take it.
Yeah.
Heyman, you were sharing something before the meeting. You want to repeat that?
Well, through the last insights, I would like to share that the oneness told me, the oneness told himself or itself or herself, whatever self, that Buddha and Jesus, Ramana Maharshi, Nisargadatta, Master Eckhart, Sailor Bob, Sailor Cat, and Rupert Spira,
And Heyman.
and all famous enlightened beings, so-called, are not a micron, which is a thousandth of a millimeter, neither more nor less enlightened than this body-mind and all body-minds all around the world.
Beautiful.
Enlightenment is just a story, similar with the story of Santa Claus and Aladdin and Magic Lamp.
Beautiful.
That's all. That's all it is.
Yeah.
This, expression of nothing as something has no respect for any concept or tradition, or past and future and now, or words. This is just what arising. That's it.
Yeah.
And that's beautiful
It is.
for no one.
Is that recognised there?
That's why I could be able to have this insight and this
Yeah,
sharing.
good.
That's the only reason. Well done.
Well said.
So you can give the spiel next time.
Because there's no difference, you continue.
You can see that I'm on the way out, so need some new blood.
And not yet.
No, not for a while, no.
Don't you dare.
No way. Not allowed.
I've been writing poetry for a while, and I just like to share. I'm quite nervous to share, so I don't really do much sharing of my poetry. So bear with me if you can. So you can't think and listen at the same time. Have you ever read a book and had to go back and reread a line? It's because you were thinking and trying to listen at the same time. You're not who you think you are, because thinking is a scam. It's hard to get your head around, but thinking actually has nothing to do with who you are or who I am. You know, we have no wants. We have everything we need. We have a roof over our head. We have air, water, and a feed. It was wanting in this world that caused me so much sadness. All this attachment to money and worldly treasure, that is the real definition of madness. In nature, there is no thinking involved. So language, literacy, and numeracy, numbers and letters, they're all dissolved. You're one with nature. There's no separation. And it's been like this since the birth of this creation.
Wow. Beautifully said.
Thanks.
Thank
for listening.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
That's what we say, take and leave out of nature, you know. So the earth rolling around the sun, seasons coming and going. We don't do anything about that. Our breathing, we don't do anything about our breathing. Heart beating, yeah. The same intelligence in it is doing more. That the only one you've written?
No, I've written lots.
Good.
I've been writing for about 15 years and just started to share.
Good.
Did you publish them?
No, I haven't published them.
Not yet.
Not, yeah.
Yeah, hypnotised by slavery, our parents, they had no idea. They said, do your homework, child, or you'll have no career. There's no alcoholics, there is just alcohol, another genius, another punished soul. So pain of thought can make us crazy, so we smoke a little weed and we get a little hazy. If you smoke too much, you get tired and lazy.
Been there, done that.
Amazing. Yeah.
Has anyone else got any poetry that they want
I'm
to
a poet, actually.
like to share?
But I don't remember them. I have to read them. Yeah.
P.T. Tony is not here. She's got a wonderful non-duality poetry.
To have a poetry night.
That would be, yeah.
Non-duality poetry night. That'd be, yeah.
And what a wonderful illustration of how the nature works, because there are people who are naturally inclined to write the poetry, and other people are naturally inclined to sing or to perform or to write books or to help other people or to do whatever. Nobody chooses it, really. They tell us when we are teenagers that now we have to make a decision, how is the rest of our life going to look like. And that is so overwhelming and so unfair, because, try and make a mistake and screw your whole life. That's terrible. That's where we need the alcohol, we need the drugs, we need any sort of help and assistance to sedate ourselves from that overwhelming heaviness of expectations that they put on us. And the truth is so simple. Nobody does anything at all. The bird is singing, the cat is meowing, the dog is barking, and they don't choose to do it. If my nature is to speak, I'll speak. If my nature is to be in silence, I'll be in silence. That's it. Not a doer. How simple.
The word came into it again naturally.
It really registered today, Bob, when you said that as soon as we started to believe that we were a separate entity, that was the beginning of all the problem, of the insecurity, of all the relating. It really registered. And then just going on what's been kind of coming into my awareness over the last couple of weeks, I spoke of it last week too, this identification as being defective, and really seeing the world from that perspective, and never being able to fill this void or fix it, because it was always defective. It was always going to be defective because it believed itself to be unfixable. So nothing, no amount of alcohol, no amount of money, anything would fill this seeming emptiness. Something's shifting. It was like I was faced with the belief that you think you're defective, and it's simply not true. It's
The belief's never the thing.
But it registered from what you were saying today about the moment we started to identify with what we were told and how we started to perceive ourselves, and then the world. The world then was created from that perspective. And now I'm finding that there's just much more softness and trust of whatever this wants to do, not pushing itself to do something, just
letting it unfold naturally.
Yeah, we all got led to believe like a dog on a lead. There's knowing and knowledge, and knowing doesn't need thoughts or words. Knowledge is all words, and there's nothing to be added or taken away. Where everything is already complete. And we got sent to school to get an education, and all that was just for brainwashing and filling our minds up with numbers and letters. And a dog doesn't know it's a dog, and a horse doesn't know it's a horse, and the birds don't know they're birds, and the bees don't know they make honey. I think if we got told in primary school that we're going to visit flowers all day and make honey, we'd be all happy right now. But we got misled. We got misled, and into language literacy and numeracy, and this is the word, this is the add-on, this is what we've all become now, attached to the meaning of words, and the words have no true meaning. It's only the knowing, which doesn't need thoughts or words. It's prior. So that's all I know, and you never have to listen to me.
I found one. Being, knowing, loving, sensing, hearing, tasting, touching, smelling, functioning, responding, energy flowing, acting, resting, breathing, singing, giving, pointing, feeling, dreaming, thinking, watching without naming. These all come and go on the presence that I am, life itself.
Beautiful.
Tells you that in the Bible. People don't understand it. I think in the beginning there was the Word. The Word was God. The Word was God. That's all God is a word, another label. All things were made by Him, by the Word. And isn't that a fact? What can you say about anything in this room if you haven't put a word on it? Nothing was made without the Word. And we've taken the Word to be real.
And also what Aaron and Taz were saying, sometimes we define ourselves as something defective. Another time we feel a little bit better and we define ourselves as, oh yeah, I'm average. Yet another time, oh yeah, I'm good at this. That's self-definitions. Dog doesn't know it is a dog. How can I know what I am? I cannot. I can only put the mask of concept. I'm defective, or I'm perfect, or I'm great, or I'm... This is all nonsense, and it's also changing all the time. I'm defective when I have a stomach ache, and I'm perfect when I'm adored by 3 or 4 people, or whatever. This is just a concept, a conceptual image that is appearing and disappearing out of that screen of emptiness. If it has the beginning, it will have an end. So it can't be it. And yet it's so elusive because we were all told, we were all taught at school to identify, I'm a girl, I'm Polish, or whatever, and it sticks. And now if someone asks me, who am I? I'm a girl, I'm a Polish, I recite whatever I've been taught. But I really can't know what I am. How could I? I will have to stop being myself to see what I am, but then I would be the one watching, not the one that is seen, that is looking object in consciousness. So it's totally impossible. And how relieving is that? Because once understood that it is impossible, the search is not necessary anymore. I don't ever have to try and find out what I am because I can't do it anyway, so better give up and just be. Instead of being what, be dot. Nothing. Be, that's it.
Yeah, just to add to that, it's not possible to not be.
Yeah.
So after asking thousands of people, tell me who you are without telling me your name, 99% of those people told me their name straight away, and then they said, oh, you said without my name. And I said, yeah, tell me who you are without your name. Yeah. And then I could see that they were delaying in their answer. So I said, if you don't know, just say I don't know.
Yeah.
And so they say, okay, I don't know. And I say, well, I'll ask you 3 questions and you have to answer me without a single thought, and I will know if you're thinking. And then I would say, are you kind? They'd say, yeah. Are you compassionate? Sometimes. Are you caring? Yeah, I can be. Yeah, I am. And I say, how do you know? And I say, you're thinking again. I say, you just know, right? You know you're kind. You know you're compassionate, and you know you're caring. And they say, yeah. And I say, well, have you been unkind? They say, yeah. I say, how do you know? And they say, I just know. Yeah. And I say, have you been not so caring? And they say, yeah. And I say, how do you know? And they say, I just know. And then I say, well, do you know that 3 words, kindness, compassion and caring, are 3 different words to describe this exact same thing? You can't pick one without the other. And then I say to them, they go, wow. And then I say, well, look, where does all this kindness, compassion and caring come from? And they're looking at me, and I say, it comes from love. And I say, so kindness, compassion and caring, doing these things that are not so kind and compassionate and caring, does that make you unkind? And they say, no. I say, well, how do you know? And they say, I just know. I said, so yeah, we just know. it's a knowing, and it comes from love, and this is who you are without your name. If you want to be named something, we all should be just called love as our name. And then I say, you can go and do whatever you wish or will with that information. And just been sharing this with a lot of people.
Wow, thank you for doing it. This is just so beautiful.
You're welcome.
What an illustration, bringing back to love. And what a brilliant way to also say, have you done opposite? Because being a totality, you're just not one end of the stick, you are totality. Yeah. But again, everything is love anyway, even the act of unkindness.
That essence of
yes.
Just as it is. Unaltered, unmodified, uncorrected. No preference, no partiality, no comparison. What is right now. It's not what was or what will be. It just is pure isness. And you don't even need that word.
There is that concept of when you said now you got that recognition, do whatever you want with it, go and do whatever you want with it. But people have a concept of spiritual bypass. That if I don't torture my body, if I don't go for the psychotherapies and I don't do something, the me doing something, the fictitious entity doing something with whatever the personality, then I'm doing a spiritual bypass. And if I decide to, if I just recognize my true nature, not only I did spiritual bypass, but I also find myself going and raping and stealing. And that is what very often is being said, that's the new Advaita versus Advaita, trying to bring up the love and compassion into the recognition. Otherwise, people use the Advaita for the bad things and excuse themselves using the Advaita for the bad things. So do you have anything to comment on it? Because it's quite simple, but it's very, very often convoluted for seekers.
When it's uncovered or discovered, the word discovery means to uncover. To uncover is to uncover what is already there. And so to uncover and become attached to what you've uncovered, it can often be just a new habitual act of being attached to spirituality or religion or another belief. And so to know that you have to be your own reminder. You have to be your own reminder. You can become addicted to having reminders from exercise or from going and doing things or going and habitual things as a new way of becoming attached to that new belief. But it's just to know it and not to be attached to any systems or any groups or any this or that. It's just to know, and it's like when you read a book and you're reading not out aloud to me. You can hear your own voice in your own head, but there's no sound coming from outside in. And so it's even your own voice in your own head is an illusion, and your thoughts are only words and your words are only thoughts. So it's not to become attached. It's nice to get a feeling of joy to want to share, but there's not such a thing as a teacher. There's intuition means you have your own tutor, your own student and teacher within you, and it's already there. So it's like interesting. It's internally resting with you. Someone says something, speaks and or does something that's observed, And then we say, oh, it's interesting. And it's because interesting is internally resting with what is already there in you. It's the peace within you already.
Yeah.
And this is all it is. It's either recognised or not recognised. It's either foreign or it's like to be dismembered means to pull it apart, and to remember means to put it all back together. So when it's remembered, we have to be our own reminder, and without any attachments, you know. That's all.
Yeah, beauty. Beauty. Yeah, I love how you dismounted that, because that's spiritual philosophy of this is better and this is worse and this is a bypass or this should be done this way. That's exactly what it is, just mounting the words, just falling for another mental concept, mental imagery, and wanting to be right in one or the other position, whilst the freedom lies beyond the concepts, both of them, right and wrong, in that non-conceptual awareness. Yes.
It's all add-ons, and it's hard once conditioned. You know, it's like I've had people say to me, "I don't even think anymore, Aaron," and I say, "Well, isn't that a thought in itself?" And it's once conditioned with the numbers and letters in here. There's no unconditioning of that, because that's conditioning in itself. You know?
Yeah.
So.
It's
We're going to be limited by definition alone, always, to try and put words to what is known. But as Bob says, we have to speak. You know, we have a big hole in our face, and lots of sounds come out of it. So we do our best to try and put words. It's no awakening, because there has to be something already awakened you to be awoken. So.
It's not a matter of acquiring anything, it's discarding a lot of the rubbish we took on board.
That's the difficult part.
And what conditioning is there if you don't think about it? It's only concepts we bring up and call it conditioning.
And then is there really any necessity to discard the thoughts when they are recognized for what they are? I mean, if we know the thought or the philosophy to be just a mental construct, then the interest, beautifully you broke that word, that just doesn't really interest you.
Beauty. I didn't know that one.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Broken that one down. I should have.
I liked intuition, yeah.
Yes.
And it's always, when it resonates, it's a resonance frequency, like a resonance. It's there. This is where we reside. It's something is heard, or we're sensory beings. So if it's going to be received as a frequency that is already within, then it's known to be as it is. It's in you already, you know. So that's why people say, "Oh, that's interesting," or "That makes sense." You know, because it does make. If it doesn't make sense, it doesn't make sense. If it's not received by the senses as making sense, it's already there. Or then it's not already there. It's foreign to me as it is to you. You know, or it's welcomed. You know.
Can I add something, Bob?
Let it rest internally. You know. That's the Buddhist. One of the Buddhists going, let it rest in its uncontrived singularity, without putting anything on it. Just rest, relax.
This is rest in peace.
Exactly.
Yes.
The silence, the stillness.
Yes.
Passeth all understanding.
Yes.
I was in a group Skype session the other day with an established school of consciousness. I won't mention who they are here, but it was interesting because the facilitator was talking about what they call the superego, which is just all the conditioning that we're talking about here, all the labeling. And he was saying that, we need, even though it's not true, we need this superego because otherwise we would be uncivilized. And I spoke with Bob about this the other day, and I had a reaction to that, and the old defective me would have not questioned it and just absorbed, his so-called teaching. But I spoke up and I said, well, I have an issue with that.
Yes.
How do you know what's uncivilized, and who says?
Yeah.
What's the distinction between civilized and uncivilized, and who's making that distinction?
Beauty.
He didn't know what to say. He really had no answer to that.
Yeah.
So it was kind of interesting that my intuition, I didn't doubt it. The defective task would have doubted it and said, oh, he's a teacher, so he knows the truth, I don't. But it's like, well, what? But the truth is, what? You're making a line between civilized and uncivilized, and who is drawing that line? Where is the line? There's no line.
You have bullshit detectors on now.
Yeah, it really was. It was like,
It's
what?
from within. Yeah.
And he was contradictory, because he was saying that he has a 4-year-old and a 1-year-old child, and that the moment the 4-year-old lost his wildness, he was grieving it. And then I said, well, a moment ago you were talking about this wildness and freedom of your child that's now gone, and now you're talking about an uncivilized versus civilized stance.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I just know that it was good for me to, I noticed that I used to just swallow information like force fed, and then and now it's not. I'm not going to digest, like bring something in that just isn't true. Swallow it.
Probably gets back to that, what this gentleman's saying about that resonance. It's
Yes.
like something lights up with the truth. It's already in there, or it's like doesn't go in. It's like a
Bob
It's
used to
not
call it attracted and repelled.
right.
You're either attracted or
Yes.
repelled, and the rest of it's the story.
But if if the you is identified with something, then if you're identified with something that is, in my instance, defective, then I would be always questioning what I'm repelled or attracted to.
And now you're not questioning.
No.
Yeah, great.
Because
great.
there's no identification of defectiveness.
Yeah,
There's just what is.
That's it.
By the way, just to remind, the biggest harm for the Mother Nature planet is human civilization.
Civilization.
Yes.
The biggest harm for the earth, for the Mother Earth, for the planet is the appearance of humans.
Civilization.
Human civilization. And even that has been manifested by the same life essence that manifested the planet.
Absolutely.
So even the parasite as a human is part of the appearance. And even that is nothing wrong with that. It's we may have the caring and loving care towards the animals and planet and everything, and that's a beautiful vibration that goes through the body. But the fact is, the way the whole planet has appeared, and it appears right now, is just the way it wants to be, just the way it is, as it is.
Yeah. What's the definition of appearance? That which seems to be.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just a vibrating, and can vibrate in any pattern, shape or form, whatever it likes, but that's transient, it's constantly changing, nothing solid.
Including killing millions of people in a lot of disasters which happen all around the world all the time. These are just appearance of the same source.
Yes.
Yes,
Well,
absolutely.
it's coming from the same source, but in saying this, it's like every action, every word spoken, and every feeling felt is a result of thinking and thoughts. And so the result in the world is a result of what men and women have been doing as a result of their thoughts, and the way they feel is a result of their thoughts, and what they say is a result of thoughts. It's a direct result of thinking. So that's the separation from our true nature in this world. We're one with this nature, and there is no separation. The only thing that can separate us is the attachment to what we do and how we feel and what we say, as a result of thinking. So if you look at the state of affairs in the world, that's the state of the minds of the world.
100% agree with you, and I would like to differentiate something between body, mind, and the essence. Essence is non-dual, the one without second, it's only one, but body-mind cannot subject to non-duality. Body-mind works with duality. That's why all enlightened beings always suggest disidentify with body-mind rather than identify with body-mind. You know, they never say this body-mind is your identity. They always say this body-mind is your experience and not the real identity. Why is that? Because this body-mind is subjected to duality. This suggestion and spill by enlightened beings are they're by definition are dualistically. They work dualistically because body-mind subjected to duality. You cannot just jump into the fire or as soon as a kettle boil water, put the boiled water in the glass, and you cannot just drink it. You have to wait. There are rules for body-mind. You cannot do anything. We're subjected to things which are different with others. This is duality.
Yeah, we're being exposed to it all. We are exposed to it all, and we don't have a choice but to accept what exposure is to us. It just is what it is. It's happening. But as far as the planet goes, humanity and the planet, it's in its natural design. Its longevity is perpetual. You know, we as human beings, we are the only living biological thing that is doing harm to its own environment. You know, to where are my grandchildren going to play? You know, what sort of air quality are they going to have to breathe? You know, what sort of food are they going to be eating, and you know, what quality water are they going to be drinking? As human beings, that have this innate ability to make sure that this planet is as it should be, and through observation and witness of what is actually happening through the history of what mankind has been doing. You know, we are the only living thing on the planet that associates with numbers and letters, and so it's through this association and everyone thinking that there's a me when there's just a we. It's just us, you know, we are the same. We're all little babies in bigger bodies, and we would have got this big anyway. To say there's no enlightenment because we're all shining as bright as we're ever going to shine, and always have been. But just what I witness, or what is being witnessed, is just there's this. It's thrown around and spoken about. You know, everyone needs to wake up. You know, we all need to be awoken. Everyone needs to wake up. You know, we need to do something about the state of affairs in the world. Well, it's only in action. It's only in doing, and doing is speaking. You know, doing is movement. It's only in the doing that we're going to get to the beach. No matter wish-lucking or praying or hoping or dreaming is going to get us to the beach. You know, it's only what we do, and so yeah, we can sit back and witness what is happening and do nothing, or we can sit and witness and actually get into action and do something. You know, there's a lot of doing happening, and I tend. When I say it's just a reference to, you know, I've been gifted 10 children. You know, I have 6 sons and 4 daughters, and you know, my concern is not with me. It's where they're all heading in this world, and how they're being manipulated and all that. Well, I turned out okay. I used to be a poor me in a pain body and telling everyone, you know, about my poor childhood and this is what happened to me, but all the good and bad made me good right now. So, you know, I could say the same for my children, but they are now saying to me, Dad, what are you actually doing about the state of affairs? What are you actually doing? You know, because they know, and it's not what we talk about or speak about. We can speak to it all day. We can sit in this room and speak for years and years, but at the end of the day, it's what are we actually all doing when we're not in this room? What are we actually doing when we're not just here? You know, so I'm just saying, like, I'm encouraging to. I've come here today to speak about it. You know, to want to encourage to be out there. I know all you are here for the same reason, to be doing something outside of this, just here out there, like, you know. And so yeah.
There's nothing outside of this. So much as I get, and I still times definitely struggle with the fact that there's a thinking thought that there's a me, and there's a concept of whatever isn't happening how the me wants it to be, and so that the disidentification with this me and that thought story of me is an essential step, an essential recognition. And I also work as a therapist, and I see how, and we know now from lots of research that actually if you're not in touch with the body, if you dissociate from the body, that is what's happening when we're drinking or drugging or whatever, or overworking or over shopping, whatever. We're dissociating. So somehow the letting go of this story of me, and at the same time the owning and deeply being in the experience of this as it's showing up in this form, so that then there is action that I guess the Buddhas would have, or someone said, he said, is right action, but that there's action coming from this deep connectedness to this life that is this.
Absolutely.
Then, because with the concepts and the action that comes from a concept of fear, or of fear of concern of the future, or a concept, that doesn't seem to be, I'm confused about that part, because on the one hand I know the pain that I experience at a personal level if I go out into the future, even for just my little self, never mind all of humanity. I don't take the best action. I often get stuck in that fear, and fear is not a sustainable source of momentum, of action. And again, lots of studies show that fear does not create sustained change. So the fear in the human psyche is actually completely counterproductive to us actually taking, or to any action being able to arise from love, which is the only action surely that can actually be contributing positively or in a meaningful way to ourselves and all the rest of our planetary inhabitants. So
sometimes it's good to be reminded that this world is a stage. It's merely a play, and it's a tale told by an idiot.
Full of sound of fury.
Yeah,
Signifying nothing.
Signifying nothing.
Bob has something to add.
So it all comes about this idea of a human being. As I said before, call God the supreme being, and call God a human being. Take out the label supreme, take out the label human, try and separate the beingness in this room. That's being a chair, it's being a carpet, it's being you, everything is that pure being. And then we add the stories onto it, told by the idiot again.
But you have also a very good pointer. Bob has a really very practical reminder about embodying the body rather than disassociating, leaving out the story and opening 5 senses in the equal amount, like focusing really the moment the story is not, we habitually focus 80-90% of the attention into the story of a me. Instead, if we just look, the seeing is happening, hearing, tasting, touching, smelling, that one happens through the body. So the body is the instrument through which the living, the functioning is happening. If there is no story about fear of future, and the hearing, seeing, tasting, touching, smelling happens, the right action springs from there. And the right action may be that you sit next to someone in the tram and that someone is falling and you grab them. And that someone may be an activist of the climate change because the life animated him or her or inspired him or her to to engage in such a movement, and you don't really know what your role in that is, and you don't really need to know. You don't need to have a story. The moment you get yourself out of the way and function from that very, very basic awareness of presence and being alert in the five senses, the right action springs naturally, and it has the consequences far greater than being motivated by fear and fighting the drugs or terrorism or fighting whatever.
So maybe the answer, because my son has asked me questions like that in the past, and sitting here right now, the answer is I'm being as deeply, truly present and here, and I am acting as that is causing me to act with as much truth and as I can.
Yeah, yeah.
It all comes up spontaneously.
Yeah, it's acting, not an actor.
That's right.
Just very quick, I watched a video that there was a female cow, that the cow was pregnant and was about to boarding a child, and 3 or 4 male lions approached the cow, and after a few seconds they realized that the cow is pregnant and about to boarding a child. They not only left the cow, they also left the cow through acting that they have a problem, and now they get angry with each other, and now they just run away and they left the cow. So this is totally brain functioning, and it's common among a lot of creatures. And I've seen also a pig rescue an impala from drowning successfully. Yeah, and also a cat rescue a boy from a dog. A lot of things.
A cat rescue a boy from a dog.
Yes. A lot of
on
other
YouTube
examples.
again.
Yeah, all on YouTube.
I like what you're saying about the body, doing its thing and just seeing, touching, tasting, and just being spontaneous, And we've got to remember that body's connected to this brain kind of functioning, the brain, the nervous system, but we're not pulling anything,
That's right.
But just getting back, like I really like what Taz said regarding that, when you start to see the stupidity of people trying to answer this this hopeless situation by answering with that the mind, is going to solve it, that the superego is needed to solve the problem. It's just absurd, So everyone, when the seeking, because we're all seeking, I was a seeker, and the seeking didn't get me anywhere, and so there's everyone's seeking for some solution. There is going to be some solution, whether it's therapy, whether it's cocaine, whether it's another drink or whatever. But it's it's that hopeless situation that really you can't do anything about it. And to do that, there's nothing you can do. We're just in that.
Without you doing anything, it's happening now.
It's happening. Yeah. So the body's happening.
Life. You are the life. There's only life. Nobody lives a life. Life lives on life. Out of life, more life comes.
So
That's
when
the one.
we get the mind out of it.
It's one life, patterning, shaping, forming, and expressing, appearing as everything. But there's no personal doership. No person that can do it. Person is a fiction. But the Earth's rolling around the sun, seasons coming and going. Who's doing it? There's Big Daddy up there. There's Big Daddy up there, riding it around.
Say that last sentence again.
Big Daddy.
Big Daddy.
He's not turning a handle and winding the Earth around the sun. It's happening.
And
Seasons coming and going, tides coming in and out. Your breathing, your heart beating, it's doing all of it. This is the one essence that's patterning, shaping, forming and expressing as everything.
And including that urge to know what Tass's teacher he wanted to know. He wanted to be smart, to be wise, to explain everything. But the truth is, it's a mystery. A mystery is unexplainable. It can be brought to the analogy or some sort of a metaphor, but really is so much deeper and more complex than a simple set of words that is supposed to explain the mystery. The beautiful thing is to be able to rest in the mystery, not wanting to know, not needing to know, not needing to have fixed answers on anything, but just stay in that sense of, wow, this is the natural state. Not knowing. Dog doesn't know. It doesn't need to know.
Well, that's simple, isn't it?
Yes, that's simple.
You'll never know. You don't know.
Yeah.
Rest in that.
Rest in that.
And then also action comes from that. I think that's the thing that the doer,
Yes.
the doership
But you're not.
can't comprehend that there could be. Exactly. So it's just this mistaken belief that there is a doer.
Right.
And you know, from your being is poetry coming, is speaking to us and sharing and pointing us, helping us all.
But there's no us.
Well, there's no
Apparently.
us as individual people, and there is a
There's a dance happening. You know, in that dance, do you have apparent dancers dancing? Without the dancers, there wouldn't be a dance.
That's right.
Apparent us's.
We're just not the music. We're not the music of the dance.
Without duality, there is no expression.
That's right.
There's no personal self. So,
Yeah.
That's better put.
And sometimes what turned out, I was going to speak a bit dualistically, but looked like a really bad situation turned out to be workout.
Oh,
It needed to happen for that to then occur, for it to work out.
And in
Like
the,
I
in
needed
the
to get
long run,
into a really dark place
yeah.
for something to change. So
Yeah.
sometimes that can happen at a bigger scale. I don't know.
Exactly. And so humanity is basically, you know, you were saying it's all of the mind. Well, it's collective self-centeredness, basically. When they're all trying to solve everything in the mind, it's like collective self-centeredness.
Yeah, you just got to watch
so
the news.
So, yeah, that's right. So it's only, you know, I think Bob says it's 99% of the world is asleep.
99.9.
99.9% of the world is asleep. So, you know, that's collective self-centeredness at a huge scale. Yeah. So, but luckily we're not that.
Well, just it's to say that we're not asleep is to know that we're asleep.
Yeah. We awaken to the dream. Dream goes on.
Yes, it's
Dreaming of the dreaming.
Yeah, it's like consciousness is that can only look,
That's right.
and you know who's doing the looking.
There's no looker.
No thinker doing the thinking.
No.
There's no numbers and letters or pictures in here.
That's right. That's right. Hearing, tasting, touching, smelling. That's it.
No thought of the stitching of the brain.
Yeah.
Okay, time's caught up with us. Thank you.
Thanks, Bob.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Kat.
Thank you, everyone.
So there it is.
Thanks, Aaron.
Surely.
Yeah.